We will call the Monday, February 13th, 2023 Juvenile Detention Center Board meeting to order. If you will call the roll, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Joe Carr.
Here, finally.
Judge Daniel.
Here.
Ms. Leslie Collins.
Here.
Ms. Claire Maxwell.
Here.
Dr. Michael McDonald.
Present.
Looks like everybody's here. Thank you. Has the board had an opportunity to read the minutes and Judge Daniel?
Yes, yes.
And how do we find those minutes?
Find them in order.
Excellent. I'll entertain a motion in a second on approval of the minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes of the January,
I'm abstaining.
you're abstaining?
Yes.
Okay, and we have record that Mr. McDonald, Dr. McDonald is one abstention. Public comments, we don't have anybody wanting to
No one
speak?
contacted me.
Okay, well, great. Open positions, Ms. Duke?
We have filled one of our education assistant positions, so that still leaves one part-time education assistant. And we now also have one part-time receptionist position.
Question, how
Yes.
long have these two positions been open?
The part-time education assistant has been open for a long time. The part-time receptionist just opened, and that position hasn't even closed.
Are you saying the part-time receptionist less than 30 days?
Yes, she just, her last day was Friday.
Oh, okay, less than a week.
Yes, so.
And then the part-time aid assistant, how long has that been open? Just if you give me a guesstimate.
4 months, 5 months?
Yes.
4 or 5 months.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Any questions with Ms. Duke about the open positions? Okay. 5, data report, please, ma'am.
Okay, I've given everybody a copy of what our population is as of today, this morning, and it's in the usual format, so if there's any questions,
I have a question.
Yes.
Would there be any harm in letting us know? I'm curious to the ages.
No, I
of these
think
children.
we can do that.
I'm assuming most of them are either 17 or 18, but unfortunately, some could be younger. And I'm just curious to
Yeah.
see what the ages are.
I think that would be fine.
And if I may, as a follow-up to that, obviously there are limits on the ages. What are those limits?
So,
I know what the upward limit is, it's 18.
right.
Okay,
We do hold it up to their 19th birthday if necessary. The age is going to be, it's going to, we generally say 12,
Okay.
just because that's kind of where the.
But it turns on the circumstance.
Right, the judge would make the
But
ultimate
generally
decision.
speaking, it's 12.
12 is-
Okay.
yeah.
That's all I'm looking for. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Duke on the data report? Seeing none, we'll move now to the SOP,
Okay.
Standard Operating Procedures discussion.
Myself,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
yes.
I want to commend whoever was able to correct all of the spelling and grammatical errors. They did a magnificent job. Is that your office there?
It was a combination of mine and Miss Duke and Miss Sonia Henderson also assisted.
Well, thank you very much. Did a
Apparently it took a
wonderful job.
village.
Sonia Henderson's another lawyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, very much.
It's my
So we all three did get together after the suggestions from the last board meeting. We went through, did the best we could to get it more in line with what we had discussed. And then that is what we have sent out. Now, we can go through and do this any way you would like to proceed.
How would the board like to do this? Because, let me, and to be clear, what we did is we went, especially Ms. Cullum and others, but
right.
the board, with Ms. Cullum's leadership, went through page by page of the existing SOP. made recommendations and changes and corrections, including, but certainly not limited, spelling and grammar. And you've incorporated those changes into this, what we have is this still working document right now, correct?
Yes.
So what you're asking the board is, do we want to go back through that again? Or how do we want, and I guess the chair's at the will of the board at this point. We can do that any number of ways.
I went through the new draft, and I do have some things I'd like addressed.
Oh.
If you just want to work through it like we did last time.
I think that would be more than appropriate unless there's an objection from anybody else. Let's just, Ms. Cullen, why don't you take the lead in that? That'd be great.
All right.
Thank you.
Very fabulous. So if you'll go to page 6, bullet point 8, I think it would be more consistent with what this says to change to report to work on my regularly scheduled shift. So change there to my, and then in the second line, to conduct themselves, change that to myself. So if you look at the other bullet points, that appears to be the pronouns that we're using.
Ms. Duke, if you don't mind, when Ms. Cullum or any other board member makes a correction, if you'll read that back again.
Okay.
So there's clarity, that would be
And I'm
appreciated.
happy to provide my draft.
That'd be
At
great.
the end of this meeting, if that's
You
helpful.
still want me to?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you don't mind, just for the rest of the board's sake, just make sure, I want to make sure you understand what she's,
Okay.
or any other board members recommending, if you don't mind.
So page 6, bullet point number 8, to report to work on my regularly scheduled shift on time, to follow directions, to accept constructive criticism, to conduct myself professionally with all coworkers and supervisors, to treat all coworkers and supervisors with respect and courtesy, to refrain from any abusive, insubordinate, or violent behavior, and to comply with all policies and procedures administered by Rutherford County.
Okay?
Perfect.
Excellent. And so what we'll do also, unless there's objection, we'll complete all this, then we'll take the appropriate motion and second for approval. Okay? Ms. Cullen?
Yes, on page 14, and this is a comment throughout the document, I presume once all the changes are finalized, the headings will all move up to the top of the page.
That's correct. And the effective date will be changed.
Yes.
And the chapter and section number as well, because those are going to also be changing.
Page 15, the new language, when detention release decisions are needed by a Rutherford County juvenile judge, juvenile magistrate, or a special judge designated by Rutherford County Juvenile Court. So the call is to administration just to know we're going to contact the judge. You're not asking administration to make a decision about that or be
No,
involved.
the staff in the facility after hours, when presented with that situation, calls one of the 3 juvenile detention center administrators who rotate on call, and then we share the information that the judges, magistrates have requested us to share, and then they, being the judges and magistrates, make the decision, call back that administrator that's on call, and then we relay that information to the staff that are on duty at the facility. And then in the event that the young person is detained, or the judge or magistrate will then fill out a court order at that time and send it to that administrator so that we can print it out in the morning and put it in the child's file.
Do you think those specific things that you're doing would be appropriate in here, or is that too much detail for this?
Because these are just post orders for the positions, I think it's unnecessary, but I will do whatever the board instructs me to do.
I think that's, since it's so well defined in other places here, I think this works.
Okay, excellent. Okay?
Page 35. under the third bullet point, 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., count files should be counts.
It should be plural.
Yes, I did one, okay. So page 35, bullet point under 4 a.m. through 6 a.m. counts files and checks classification board and computer to ensure an accurate count.
Okay?
Page 68. In the second paragraph, the director or designee shall ensure preventable should be either preventive or preventative. I think both of those words are correct, and I believe preventative is used in the next line, so you may want to change preventable to preventative. And then on that same first line, at the end, preformed should be performed.
Can you say that
Yes,
again?
it's that second paragraph, the last word on the first line, preformed should be performed.
Why am I not seeing that?
I'm not following where you're at on that last one. Oh, I see. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Right here. It should be per, not pre.
Yes.
Switch the R and the E around.
Yes.
Oh,
Do the swap.
okay.
Swap the R and the E. There you go. Thank you, Leslie. And did you get the first one?
Yes. So, page 68, second paragraph, the director or designee shall ensure preventative maintenance is scheduled and perform consistent with preventative maintenance schedule for each vehicle. When possible, vehicles used to transport detainees shall be equipped with the following.
So I understood something a little different from Ms. Cullum. I thought you said performed, and I heard her request performed, P-E-R-F-O-R-M-E-D. Am I correct?
Correct. Performed.
Okay. I just heard you say something a little different, Ms. Duke, that's all.
What is the spelling we want to use?
P-E-R-F-O-R-M-E-D.
Okay.
Are we ready to move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Page 72. I understand these definitions come from the Department of Children's Services rules, but the definition here for seclusion is different than the definition they're using. This one I think may be better than the one they're using, but they are different, and I just want you to comment on that.
I will double check which is the most updated, authorized definition of seclusion by the Department of Children's Services and make sure that what is in the updated current JDC, standard operating procedures, is the same as what they have.
So I have a question. Is there a reason if we have a better definition, as Ms. Cullum indicates, is there a reason why we couldn't use the better definition for our purposes, or should we use the definition that the state suggests, or is it a requirement? You see what I'm saying?
I believe that this may be, if you'll recall, at one of our past board meetings, I had included some new language that DCS is going to be using, but they have not yet had their official approval. And this may be their new definition
Okay.
that hasn't truly been approved by the state yet.
That'd be Gov Operations Committee.
So, I probably jumped the gun on this, but to answer your question, we would want it for lots of reasons to be the same as
Okay.
whatever the approved DCS term
So
is.
if this definition was getting out in front of the current definition, we would want to conform with the state, you're saying? Or even if this were a better, in your
Yes.
opinion,
Yes.
definition? And so this would be something upon ratification by Government Operations Committee, then we could make that change at that time?
Yes.
And we'll need to, when that happens.
They are redoing all of the rules
Right.
again. So this will probably, lots of things in here may need to be changed again.
Okay. Is this may be a substantive change, but might require a separate motion to go back? Because we're asking to change this particular part of the SOP. This is definitional, others have been more grammatical and spelling. This is a bit different, is that not the case?
It is, and that same definition also appears on page 176. So whatever you do to this, need to conform with the definition that appears on page 176.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take this one away from some of the others, since this is a definition of substance. I need a motion to conform with, this definition conforms with the definition on page 176 that reflects what the current state standard is. Is that correct?
I believe it will be the language that's crossed out here.
Right.
Just to re-put that.
Okay, yes,
So
I
do you
got
see
it.
that?
I do.
But even though they, you know how it works, they want to do their changes as quickly as possible, but sometimes it does lag for some time,
Right.
and there's no telling how long it'll be before they actually
We
do it.
understand that. So let's get a motion in a second on that.
I move that we make our definition match what is currently used by DCS. Does that work?
Yes, appropriately so.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Ms. Kohler?
Page 75, and this is really more just a question for Director Duke. Before the young person is admitted, if there is a serious injury or they're under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you talk about going to an emergency room for medical clearance. Is that ever done by an ambulance that might be on the scene of a crime or a DUI or anything?
Well, we're not there, so I wouldn't know the answer to that. This is just, this policy is so that we don't take into custody someone that shouldn't be in our facility, but should have their medical needs addressed by medical staff, so that the officer who was at the scene or whatever, we can't tell them, we're not there, we can't tell them what to do on the scene, but we can definitely not accept somebody that needs medical attention when it's something that they should have done prior to bringing the child to us.
So if they have information that an ambulance was on the scene, they saw the young person is fine to be up and walking around, is that information that intake would be getting from the officer?
They could get that information for the officer, but it's not enough, in my personal opinion. If you come in and you have a knot on your head from a car accident, and the officer says the ambulance driver said it was fine, that's not going to be good enough for me as a mother. I want a doctor to see the child. I want the paperwork saying they did. And so that's the way we try to do things, is if it was our child, how would we want that handled? And I would want them to take my child to the hospital.
Has that come up in the past, and how did you handle it? say, we're not accepting them and taking them?
It does happen. It happens, I don't want to say regularly, but
It's not rare.
it's not rare.
Okay.
And sometimes it's very frustrating for law enforcement, and we understand that. You know, it also, especially if somebody says, you know, that they smoked marijuana prior to the officer getting there, and the officer's like, he's fine,
Yeah.
don't make me do this. But we still want somebody to, you know, with all the right initials after their name, to take a look at them and make sure they're.
And you need to do a drug screen to see what did they take, because they can
Well-
tell you they took this, but they really could have
Right.
taken way more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want a little clarification on that. Page 128, and I'm going to presume that once we take out all the excess language, all these margins and things will even up throughout the document.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Page 141. If you look down at the third paragraph, the following will not be taken away from a detainee through the loss of positive behavior rewards intervention process unless the detainee poses a risk to himself, herself, or others. You're striking religious services and mail services and then putting them in subparagraphs by themselves. But there's a strike through meal service, and it does not appear to be added anywhere else, and I can't believe you're going to punish somebody by not giving them their meals.
No, let me see what we've done here.
And the same comment about personal
I was
hygiene.
going to say, let's go ahead and talk about.
I'm wondering, I don't know if you want me to do it now, I definitely can, but I would want to see if I address that
Somewhere else?
in the area where we talk about meals, and same for personal hygiene. But
Would the,
if it's not, then it shouldn't be struck.
so it could be more appropriately somewhere else, and you just want to make sure, so you don't want it to appear twice, is all you're saying, correct?
That may be what
Right.
I've done. Yes,
Right.
that's correct.
All right, if we could just verify that, that would be great.
And that would be for personal hygiene and meal service.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, here's that. Page 184. Under juvenile court, bullet number 2 says, unless there is an official request for restraint use in court form filled out for the detainee, remove the detainee's shackles prior to entering the courtroom. But then the last bullet point says, otherwise detainees are shackled for court appearance. So I'm unclear how those work together.
I probably can clean that up. That would be for court outside of this facility.
If you could just say that, yes, that would be great, because for
Outside facilities.
court here, the rule is they're not shackled
Right.
unless the paperwork's done. Is
Yes,
that accurate?
That is
Okay.
correct.
And then on the other one, you just add outside, otherwise detainees are shackled for court appearances outside the Rutherford County Detention
Right.
Center.
So if you're taking them to the judicial building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I know everybody's going to be disappointed, but that's all I have.
I'm impressed. Genuinely impressed. You've done a great job, Ms. Collin. I appreciate it. I really do. With those changes and corrections, I would like to entertain a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
Second?
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Again, thank you, Ms. Cullen, for your diligence. Does anybody else have any recommendations for changes or corrections? Seeing none? Thank you, Ms. Duke, in that. And we go to our final order of business is other business.
So, not only do we obviously detain young people from Rutherford County here, we contract with interested agencies and other counties. And recently, Cheatham County has asked to enter into contract with us. This is the form that they have already filled out and had their county executives and mayors, et cetera, sign off on. Usually, prior to the establishment of this board, I would take it through public safety, budget and finance, and then the full commission. And then last public safety, I forgot myself and took it to public safety without having brought it here. So I'm here, trying to do this the correct way because I got
That's okay, we're new.
I got wonky.
It's no big deal, it's no big deal, we can handle this.
So, Cheatham County is asking to enter into contract. This is the same contract that we have for all of our other agencies and counties. And as it is with the rest, just because you have a contract with us does not mean that we have to accept the young person. We still have the ability to say, no, we don't really think it's a good idea for us to hold that child. And if they do send a child, and if we have issues, if there's something that we can't address for the child and we don't think it's a good idea for them to continue to stay, we call Cheatham County and say, come get your child.
I have a question.
Okay.
Ms. Duke, is there any reason why the board should not approve this request?
No, not in my opinion.
Is it a competitive daily rate?
Yes, there has been discussions in the past about raising the daily rate. The cheapest daily rate that I'm aware of is in the 130s. There are several in the 150s, 160s. Of course, we're 175 a day per child. There may be one facility that is higher, but there are facilities that offer more services than we do. There are some facilities that, as part of their contract, they will transport the young person to any appointment that they have. If in this example, if Cheatham County sends a young person who has a dentist appointment, then Rutherford County is not responsible for getting that young person to their dentist appointment. Cheatham County would be responsible for that. I think we're in a good spot with the rate that we charge, but it's debatable.
Is there a certain class of offense that typically finds itself here from an outside county because of the county's inability to deal with that juvenile? Does that make sense?
Right. We were discussing this last week, that and you can kind of look at what they're sending us from the other counties. So I don't know, but it appears to us that we're getting some of the kids with more serious charges. Not all counties have the rooms like we do, which is really incredibly helpful with safety for everybody. The rooms are self-contained. They don't have to share a room with anybody. I would,
So the answer may be probably.
yes, I think so, but nobody has said, let's,
Yeah.
Just-
And that's
yeah.
fine. I guess, I understand that Cheatham County doesn't have the resources that Rutherford County has, so it makes sense that the safety of the child, they try to find a place that could take care of the child in a proper manner as they go through the system. I'm just wanting to, I guess, as a board member, I'm wanting to understand that, that's all.
we also have, a lot of times, if a young person is going to be held on serious charges for a extended amount of time. We've found that the counties really prefer the setup that we have, because, you know, the kids, you know, their room and what they have in their room, they want it like they want it. And so if you're gonna be here for a year and a half waiting on a murder charge, you don't want, you know, kids coming in and out of your room that are not facing the life decisions that you're going to have to be. And so I think that might be part of it too.
In your report today, we have one of these young people from Cheatham County. How did they get here if we didn't have a contract?
So what happened was, we did a professional courtesy for the judge out of that county, and we said, if you will go ahead and get your paperwork to us, signed and dated, and we went in a little bit further and said, if you judge will also sign that one way or the other, even if it's out of your pocket, this will be paid, we'll talk. And so he sent that nice letter and signed it.
So we should have raised the rate.
That's one judge to another, right?
But in all seriousness, we did say, if this, you know, because you never know, I said, if this young person is not following our schedule of, you know, daily activities and is troublesome, then we'll return him.
No, I have not signed it.
And you're going to be forwarding this to Mayor Carr eventually?
Yes, once it runs through all the committee process, then he gets it.
I won't sign it without your approval, Ms. Cole.
Feel free. Call me about it.
Any other questions with regard to the Cheatham County? One more final question. How many contracts do we currently have, or agreements do we currently have with other counties? Not counting, in addition to Cheatham County, potentially?
41, this would make 42.
Okay. All of them in Tennessee? Mm-hmm. Okay. We don't contract with outside of Tennessee?
No, not currently.
Okay. We have the ability to do so?
We have the ability to do so, and we had some, we had a video that was created to share with other states, and it was frowned upon.
Okay, that's fine.
Early on, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Early on, we were presented with a contract with the federal
Marshals.
government, Marshals Department. And that didn't, because of the conditions and prerequisites they had. we
I have
didn't
yet to
consider-
hear back from them, so
Okay.
I think they've stalled out.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good enough.
Mr. McDonald, do you have a question? Oh, no. You had that inquisitive look. Any other questions for Ms. Duke on this? I'll accept a motion in a second for approval.
I so move.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. This goes now back to committee where it belongs. Thank you,
Yes.
Ms. Duke. Any other
I
business?
apologize
No, don't worry
for
about
jumping
it.
the gun on that.
No, don't worry about it. Any other business on that?
Here's another piece of business that I'd like to find out a little bit about. Budget, what obligation do we have in helping, trying to formulate a budget for?
Well, I'm still in the process of putting it together. I think this was asked last time, excuse me, at the last board meeting, and I believe that after, and correct me if I'm wrong, after I meet with the mayor and the finance director, and shore up some stuff, I think is at that point that you
Probably.
would,
This is my first budget, so, with, at least in county government, so that's the protocol I would like to undertake, but there's nothing that says that the board can't be a part of that process at any point in which they want to be. It's rather tedious and time-consuming.
I just didn't want to be behind the eight ball, having not done the homework, if I was supposed to be doing something.
Oh, okay. I will tell you this, if anybody's behind the eight ball, Judge, it would be me at this point. Any other business? I have a piece of business. Thank you, Mr. Hennessy. And this is more of an FYI, unless there's a strong objection from the board. I have asked Lisa Kay, the Public Information Officer, to do community spotlights on all the departments within Rutherford County to educate, inform, and just let people know what all the different parts of county government do to servicing the county's needs. One of those departments is here, and it performs a very valuable function. And so we're coming to the place where Lisa Kay is going to be coming out here and talking to Ms. Duke and Mr. Cesar and just educating the community on the valuable service they perform to our community. And so I just wanted to let the board know, and if the board has any strong objections to that, I would certainly entertain that. But it's, again, I think we're all interested in, if I can, and this is a conversation that Lynn and I had, it's about normalizing things as much as we can, while at the same time improving the things that we're charged to improve. And so without casting the spotlight on this facility over and above what we're doing in other areas, I think it's part of that normalization process. But I wanted to let the board know what we were doing, so if when you see it on local TV, you go, well, why didn't we know? So that's what that is. It's, the segments are how long, Lisa Kay? About 30 minutes?
No, not 30 minutes.
They're not 30 minutes?
No, they range from 2 minutes to 34 to 6 minutes to 46
Okay,
seconds.
okay. Why did I think 30?
I don't know.
Me either,
It takes
never
about
mind.
30 to 45 minutes to film one.
Well, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, yeah. There's a lot of B-roll, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a spotlight. It's not like a high beam headlight. Anyway, any other business? We stand adjourned. Thank you.